Dakar 97.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Gaming Memories video. Here we are looking at a unique off-road racing game by the name of Dakar 97, and it's actually based off the popular Paris-Dakar rally. The game was actually released in 1997 and developed by Elcom and was published by Virgin Interactive. It was also developed in cooperation with Mitsubishi Motors, as they had the exclusive rights to utilise and use some of the prototype Mitsubishi Jeeps that they were using within the rally at that time period. So this was the introduction into showcasing those prototype vehicles. The game itself was only released in Japan. It was never released outside of other regions, as for years you'd only ever see very limited screenshots, and there was very little information on the video or the game itself based off what was actually out there. You might see a few videos actually popping up on YouTube, but it was very minuscule, and there wasn't really an awful lot of information regarding the videos. It was just a few gameplay footage videos, but again, the quality of a lot of them wasn't that great. You can also find copies of it on eBay, but they are quite rare, and the prices of them is starting to increase if you can get your hands on one. Now, the game itself, even though it is a rally off-road style game, it didn't get the greatest of reviews, mainly due to some main issues and gripes that were within the game, mainly due to the likes of the handling physics of the vehicles, but not only that, the collision detections within the environment whenever you hit something. But even at that, when you got onto some of the more open world type stages where you had to go through checkpoints, even though you did have kind of like a map kind of to follow, and you had like indications on the screen like due to cursors and stuff like that to kind of tell you where to go, you were still kind of left dumbfounded throughout the races as to figure out which checkpoint to actually go to. So you have a mixture of game modes in the game itself. You have a mix between rally type stages, as you'd be more commonly familiarly known with other types of rally games that you would have played on the PlayStation and other consoles. But then you actually do have like open world segments like this here, where you do go through specific checkpoints, and these are the ones that I was talking about, that it is quite difficult to figure out where to go. As you can see here on the screen, I found it after playing it for a while. This was actually the main gripe I found with the game. I found that it was quite difficult because you go through periods on a level and there'll be no like indications to tell you really where to go, so you weren't sure what position that you were supposed to be in or where you were actually supposed to go, and you'd have to keep travelling until you actually found like say cones or so forth to be able to figure out where to turn next. And even at that, there was no guarantees that you would actually take the right turn, so it actually kind of hampered your progress a lot throughout the game. It kind of puts you in mind of monster trucks. I actually have done a previous review of that game, where it also, even though you're driving monster trucks, it has a very similar kind of aesthetic where you are actually on tracks like racing against other trucks, but you also do have open world checkpoint races as well. It's very similar to this here, and again that was tough as well, but it was easier to figure out where to go and to find your way around than it is actually in this game. You also had only access to 4 different types of vehicles within the game, all Mitsubishi style Jeeps that were all developed in conjunction with the likes of the Dakar rally itself, as it was for their primary use. They all have their own handling characteristics and different type of features, but again, it doesn't really take away so much as from the actual game itself. Like, apart from the niggles that's in the game, even though it didn't get the greatest of reviews, the handling can be a little bit on the fiddly side. If you hold the controller in one direction for far too long, the back end will start to drift out, and it's very hard to keep the car on the road without hitting something. And as you can see from the collision detection, when you do hit something, that it just kind of just lingers on the screen, and it literally stops the vehicle dead in its tracks, and it's very hard to get out of a wall if you get stuck in it. But overall, when you do get the feel for the game, you actually can get into it. It's just, it is quite difficult, because even with the likes of the more open-ended tracks, the open world tracks, like as you can see here, you are on a time limit. You do actually have a time limit to complete each level, especially within the likes of the campaign mode. And if you don't get to the end of the level within that time frame, it's game over and you have to start the whole campaign again. but you do have the ability to play in different game modes where you can actually do like a practice or a test run mode, so you can actually play all of the levels individually and get a feel for them before you actually go into actually playing the campaign itself. So it does give you a bit of familiarity with the game, and it does allow you to practice your skills and get used to the feel of the game and how the cars handle and so forth before you actually tackle the main campaign, because it can be quite difficult, and mainly due to the reasons as I explained. There is a lot of pop-up, as you can see on the screen. A lot of the stuff and a lot of elements of the environment don't actually show themselves until you're almost on top of it, which can also kind of throw you off as well in terms of actually where to go. That's what I found from actually playing the game as well, and it would actually leave you to a point that it just bamboozle or confuse you as you were playing along. Now, I don't want to say to hate on the game. Actually, from playing it, once I allowed myself to sit down and play it, yes, it does have its gripes, but when you sit down and play it, it's not the worst game in the world, and you can get some fun out of it. You just have to be patient with it and just try to allow yourself to become familiar with the likes of the game style, the mechanics and so forth. Like, it's definitely not the best rally style game on the PlayStation. I actually have done another previous video where I explain and show 16 of the best rally games on the PlayStation. I'll make sure to drop that down in the description, as there is a lot of far superior rally games on the system. But this is still worth actually trying out if you're interested in looking into something that's actually quite rare and actually hard to find, because this game is one of the more rare games on the PlayStation that was only released in Japan, and like I mentioned, getting copies of it now are extremely limited, and the prices of it is actually starting to go up, especially if you're a collector. So now would be a perfect opportunity to actually go and maybe invest in a copy of it, or just go and try and get access to it and play it in whatever way you can, just to experience something a little bit different, a little bit in a lot of ways unique, even though it's not as good as some other games like I mentioned, but it's still worth a try. And I'm all for testing out other games, and the whole point of this channel and the games and the videos that I'm creating is to explore a lot of these quirky, unusual, more obscure style games and just share my experiences and thoughts with everyone, because there are some hidden gems. Even though some games out there probably aren't as good, the one thing I find is though every game that you do play, there's always something in it that stands out, and you have to allow yourself to think with an open mind and say and try and accept it for what it is, because no game is perfect. So if you can allow yourself to enjoy it for what it is, you will have a good experience, and this game is no exception. But I'd love to know your thoughts on Dakar 97 for the PlayStation. Have you actually played it yourself, or did you even know about it? Did you even know it existed? Be sure to share them down in the comments below. So if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more style videos like this exploring other games that were released in Japan, then make sure to leave a like on the video. Also make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to be updated whenever future videos are released. Again, also be sure to check out some of the other videos here on the screen where I do provide reviews and gameplay videos of other rally games that were actually released on the PlayStation. So as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.
You're off course. Game over.